Here you go.
Thank you. I'll screen share in a second. I just wanted to start by thanking Patricia for the opportunity and the platform for all of us to come together. It feels like we're a tribe in the world, and there's lots of work to do, and it's great to come together for these workshops. So thank you for that, and thank you to Mary Mattingly for her curation of this online exhibition, and thank you, Jill, for getting us started. I really enjoyed your presentation. Hi, everybody. I'm calling in from the Santa Monica Mountains on a beautiful winter day in Los Angeles. I'd like to first acknowledge being a visitor here on Tongva Gabrielino land. And also, I wanted to say my heart is going out this morning to so many people who don't have internet today, who don't have the opportunity to connect, who don't have food to eat, and who are experiencing violence all around them. And the cultural context that we're working together on reparation is one where we all really do need to come together in our common ground to support each other, and being beings of the web of life support the web of life. So with that, I will go to my presentation. Can everybody see okay? I'm not sure that, yeah. Is that good? Yeah. Undevelopment, unseal the earth and let her breathe. So the mission statement of Metabolic Studio, many of whom are here on this Zoom today, is that artists need to create on the same scale that society has the capacity to destroy. In this particular talk, we'll be looking at the destruction that's been exacted by settler colonial thinking in the western part of the North American continent between the Rocky Mountains and the Pacific Ocean, specifically as a result to bring water and power to urban centers rather than letting in the arid lands water do what it does to make things survive. So specifically, our studio's location and the point of our infrastructure, conceptual infrastructure adaptation, as well as the realization of it, is thought of as part of this salmon-colored band on the outside of this timeline, or the urban industrial era of geological time, which began in the 1880s with the construction of a rail yard, the Pacific Rail, on the most sacred land of the Tongva and Gabrielino, in the primary basin of a network of basins in the Los Angeles area. So this work, Bending the River, has been interesting because it's, as we've progressed, time itself has bent back in because the soils that we're digging out of the ground are carbon dating from the Clovis era, 7,000 years ago. So by doing this infrastructure monument, this infrastructure adaptation, we've actually re-greeted deep time. And I'll explain that a little bit later with an image. So this work began on this train yard's aftermath. This is what the site looked like for 50 years following the train yard moving out, because of if you build a train yard on top of a floodplain, you'll have to deal with a lot of floods. So eventually they left. But they left all of the dirty stuff in the ground from the train yard. So in 2005, I began the metabolic cycle of work with a project called Not a Cornfield on this site, which looked at utilizing a hyperaccumulator plant of native corn seeds to clean out the residue left in the ground from the trains. So when we think about scale, when we think about artists need to create on the same scale that society has the capacity to destroy, I want to talk about the scale of the seed, right? The seed, this tiny, tiny singular seed, is capable of a transformation on an epic scale, right? So when I talk about scale, I don't necessarily mean that we have to build at the scale of the destruction. But I do think we need to think about the building blocks of replicability. Yeah, that word. Replica. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So this is that cornfield, 32 acres of corn planted on 32 acres of brownfield. And after about 2 weeks, the whole thing was this emerald green. It was a complete transformation of a mentality from something that we'd sort of given up on as a kind of dirty ruined spot to something that looked so vital and alive. And so in order to grow that corn, you'll see that there's little plastic irrigation stripping running along there. That's water that I got from the LA River. This was just a raw site and I had no way to get water to it. So I followed all the punk rockers down to the river on their movie shoots and realized that I could just go down with them with a truck and just glean water out of the river and stick it into these pipes and grow corn out of it. So what happened when I did that is that I discovered that it's illegal to take this water that you see in the LA River and bring it anywhere other than going out to sea. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be good and wouldn't it be right if the rainwater that's supposed to fall into the ground and replenish the aquifer was again allowed to do that? Why are we like moving all of this water off of tarmac and streets into a river and out to sea during a time where the city's grown to such an extent that we don't have enough water to even feed trees that want to grow on the land? So it started with the question of kind of why wouldn't you reevaluate what you're calling waste material? Like water should never be waste material. So bending the river is about reconnecting the land and the water, an intervention. This clay pipe that you're looking at in this slide is one of 60 that we laid down under the concrete to convey water from inside the channel to the outside where we can release and unleash her flow. And we undertake this to assist the web of life to repair herself. This little video that we made to give people an idea of what we're talking about shows a bend in the river of the infrastructure that's going out to sea, but instead you see this phantom river crossing under the railway lines, going through our concrete warehouse, Metabolic Studio, going like a phantom across the street to the 32-acre brownfield where not a cornfield was, and beginning its meander again, beginning to let the nature of a river or a meander reoccur, sending it through the park and out again to the city. I don't know how to get out of this. I'll just let it play. Uh-oh. Can't get on to the next image from here.
Does someone want to chime in if they know what to tell her to do? Because I don't.
If you
Yeah,
minimize your screen and then click on the white part of the slide, maybe that'll take you.
yeah, thank you. So this is a collage that I made with the help of Dave Bain at Metabolic Studio that shows what you can't see anymore, which is the 300 feet of clay pipes that are buried underneath the concrete of the LA River. Now it's here inside the space that we made under the concrete of the LA River that our biggest discovery of the project was made. Look at the water buried underneath the concrete of the river. We lifted up the concrete of the river just enough of the concrete to lay these vitrified clay pipes that you see here to discover the water underneath the concrete to be perfectly pure, blue, clean water. So nobody seemed to know that there was a river underneath the river of the LA River that was so precious and beautiful. So as you can see in this drawing, the big blue area, which is the LA River, and parallel to it, the blue of the underground river that flows underneath it, taking a bend and going into Metabolic Studio. What we discovered when we found that river underneath that river is that the soil buried with it for eight decades under the concrete had been protected for all this time from the rapid industrialization of the area around the LA River. So that soil is completely vital and alive. So we brought that soil that we scooped out from under the concrete to a tow yard on the other side of the river from our studio. And this is me holding that sand and soil in my hands. Ripped open the tarmac of the tow yard and let the rain connect to the ground again. And we discovered that the web of life wants to repair itself. On that tow yard, what occurred was a novel mini ecosystem, just like the unbridled river that used to exist here would carry stormwater from the mountains with all of the duff and dander and soil and seed and logs and wood, and would decay in the basins. If you cover that debris with concrete, it'll just wait till light hits it again to germinate. So this is what that same drainage basin looks like today, where all of the red lines are the gutters on streets that move water into the blue lines, which are the Arroyo Seco and the LA River. So again, what you see above, which is this big pool of unbridled water, complete with all of the debris from the mountains, becomes this, where debris has nowhere to settle. But if you allow that debris to have air again, it's all already there underneath the streets. So this presentation looks at this particular occurrence where we took this old tow yard, we removed study circles, 60-foot study circles, brought in floodplain material, and almost immediately the predators came there to repair themselves too. So this is a local coyote that was injured, and he moved in right away, right to this ancient soil that had been buried for 80 years. He knew instinctively that this was a place of wellness. So what my teacher and many of our teachers here on this Zoom like to think, and this was Newton Harrison, is that this was a proof of concept that if you have a coyote who's moving in, it means the place is alive. And how it got to be alive involved more than just ripping up the tarmac. It involved using mycelium plugs that we evolved thanks to James and Farm Lab team, who's also on this call, that we're capable of cleaning the toxicity out from under the tarmac, especially arsenic and lead. So what you got, what that parking lot looks like now is this. This is the floodplain buried beneath the LA River, brought back to life by simply taking off tarmac and rerouting the rainwater. And this is a plant, this is an apricot mallow that hasn't been seen in LA for almost 100 years. That's coming out from under the floodplain, and a red-tailed hawk that's also living nearby. And now on our site, Metabolic Studio across the river, we're doing the same with an old Standard Oil building, using corn and using mycelium to clean Standard Oil's leave-behinds in our studio, so that we can unpave our building. This is the middle warehouse at Metabolic Studio, and clean the toxicity in the ground here, so that we can move the LA River through the building, like in the photo collage, and into the park. So these are the plants we're using inside the warehouse right now to clean up the soil. We're 8 months into this cleanup job, and the reduction of lead and the reduction of arsenic in the ground left behind by Standard Oil is going on. And I'll end by looking at this map of the North American continent, stripped bare of outmoded borders that no longer serve us. Wouldn't it be good, and wouldn't it be right if we could still live with this place of flow, so that we can allow life to repair itself and be stewards of that action? So thank you for listening.
Oh, that was great, Lauren. Wonderful to get an update. And I'm curious, what was you're using willow, watercress, and mugwort to do the remediation?
Yeah, we'll post, there's, for anybody who's interested, I'll post on the chat the Substack to all the things we're using, but we're using zeolites, we're using plants like willow and mule fat and watercress. Then there's things that come out of the soil all by themselves, like dandelions, that are powerful remediators as well. So, you know, again, we're going at this as inspired generalists. None of us are know what we're doing. We're following, you know, things we learn and things that we observe. So it's pretty exciting.
Yes, very exciting. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions